Steven Schaefer here. How you doing? Cool. I'm doing fine. So a topic I was just thinking about actually is why do we hurt ourselves? Why do we do things that are not rational, destructive, painful? Why do we hurt ourselves? And what I mean by hurt is lots of things. Just physically hurting ourselves, cutting or bruising or pulling out hair, things like that. Or getting in relationships that are very painful. If you've ever been in a relationship, you can at least see, if you haven't experienced this yourself, which I certainly have, you can at least see where it could get extraordinarily painful. Staying in family environments that are hurtful, doing drugs, lots of things. It's a huge list, but basically anything that's not beneficial towards us. Why do we do these things? If they're not beneficial, then wouldn't we automatically go for whatever's most beneficial? And I'd like to make the case for why we don't. So, essentially, as far as brain chemistry goes, let's get that one out of the way so we can get into the more practical topics. But we receive dopamine for things that are... Essentially, dopamine is the rewarding chemical in our brain. It says, get dopamine, basically. Right now, whatever you're doing, it's because your brain is getting a lot of dopamine. And we just have a natural inkling to get as much dopamine as possible in our systems. And so when we eat, for instance, and this makes biological sense, of course, you get a lot of dopamine because it feels good. You want to eat because then you will survive. If you don't eat, obviously you're not going to live very long. Also, we get dopamine for sex. Obviously, this is a reproduction mechanism. Sorry about the we get dopamine for being in social interactions. When we were in tribal society, even in ape groups, we do better in social groups than we do as individuals. So it makes sense that our brains give us dopamine for these particular things, and that list is very long as well. So when we're young, one important value that I think is a necessity for all children to need to learn, and I don't think it's taught very often. In fact, I know it's not taught very often, is the deferral of gratification. That is so pivotal, so important. The deferral of gratification is a necessity for rational living. And I assume I was taught it to an extent, but really I didn't get the full gist of. I'm going to close this window because I'm very distracted by my beautiful face, but the deferral of gratification is so key, so important to be taught when we're younger, because this allows us to say, yeah, this would feel really good if I did it right now, but like smoking, for instance. Yeah, it would feel really good to smoke this pack in 30 seconds, but my lungs are not going to enjoy this, And things like drugs, for instance, actually turn on the dopamine. I don't know the exact chemistry, and I'm working on it. I'm learning more. But so if I say anything wrong, neurologist, correct me immediately. But they put a lot of dopamine into our system, or they alter the brain so it produces a lot more dopamine. That's why people like to do drugs, because it feels like a reward to our brain. It's like, yeah, it's throwing a party essentially, and which is probably what's going on with it in the environment that you're getting the drugs from. Party, and it's same with sex, same with everything. A lot of things, not everything, obviously. But and then we have a choice to say, no, I don't want to. I do not want to do this action, even though it's going to feel really good in the immediate moment. I'm going to wait and do this other action because it's better for the long term. And that can be very stressful sometimes. You see an extremely attractive female, and you say, "Ooh, hello." You know, that's what you're saying in your brain, and you're thinking, "Ah, yeah, yeah." And but then you can rationally say, "Well, but I don't want to just for me, I don't want to just have intercourse without getting to know her, without there being love, without there being affection, because it's going to cause a lot of stress. I don't want to get in a relationship with somebody also without it being based on truth and honesty, because it's going to cause a lot of stress in the long run. If you've ever been in a relationship, I think you might know what I mean. So, and not all relationships, definitely, but the ones that aren't based on honesty. But so without being taught the deferral of gratification as a youngster, it doesn't make any sense that we would have this as adults. We would simply, it's like never seeing anybody tango dance in your entire life and then just saying, hey, look what I can do, and doing a perfect tango dance. It wouldn't make any sense at all, and calling it a tango dance. It wouldn't make any sense whatsoever for that to be the case. So if we're not taught the deferral of gratification as youngsters, and I think it can be learned later on in life, obviously people quit smoking, people quit drinking, people quit promiscuity, so I think it can be taught, it must be able to be taught later in life. But if you're not taught as a youth, it's going to be very difficult to obtain that. And so without this deferral of gratification, our brain is essentially saying, get as much dopamine right now as you can. And there's a lot of things that really just don't give us a lot of dopamine. I mean, studying, for instance, reading, relaxing, exercising. Maybe exercising does. I don't think so. I don't think we get a reward feeling other than a rational reward for exercising. But maybe we do. I don't know if it makes sense in a biological perspective, because, I don't know. I won't say that one. But definitely eating, we get a lot of dopamine for. And so we need to combat that with short-term, even pain to an extent, like exercising. If you're very overweight, I just started running in the mornings, and it's not necessarily fun. I like it, I like it, but it's not like I get this, like, ooh, like when I do when I eat, it's not like it's not like it's automatic. I have to rationally sit down and say, okay, I'm going to go running. I don't just wake up and just think, okay, run, like you do with urination or going to the bathroom in general, or eating. You'll feel good for those things automatically, essentially. And